I believe that India and UAE are not only successfully venturing out into the outer space, but they're also paving the way for a significant power shift from the west to the east.
A fascinating session that focuses on the UAE's famed Amal probe around Mars and how the Arab nation now plans to venture deeper into space, traveling through Venus towards the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Addressed by Dr. Naslim Neelamkodan, Assistant Professor in UAE University, who works on stars and their impact on the interstellar medium, and Omran Anwar Sharaf, Project Director of the Emirates Mars Mission at the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. This is a session that will shed light on an exciting trajectory that lies ahead in space research. Dr. Naslim Neelamkodan has a PhD in astrophysics from Queen's University of Belfast, United Kingdom. Her main research interests are in the field of observational astrophysics. She works on various research topics such as chemical abundance of hot stars, evolution of stars, formation of massive stars, and impact on interstellar medium. Omran Anwar Sharaf is Project Director of the Emirates Mars Mission at the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. He and his team are responsible for developing, launching, and operating the HOPE probe, the spacecraft of the mission. Omran has worked on the project from its initial conception and developed all the necessary capabilities and partnerships at the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, effectively transitioning the organization from one that focused on Earth observation satellites to one that develops interplanetary exploration missions. UAE's exploration into the great unknown. With Dr. Naslim Neelamkodan and Omran Anwar Sharaf.
Omran, tell us how the Mars probe came about and what was the driving vision that you all had when you put this incredible mission out there. I mean, we've always talked about men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Why Mars, and why did the UAE sort of focus on this?
Mars mission actually started with a retreat at an island called Sir Baniyas in Abu Dhabi. When the UAE government, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, asked all the ministers and the deputy prime ministers also to be there to brainstorm what should we be doing, basically to expedite certain things and certain ambitious disruptive programs that we need to come up with before the 50th anniversary of the establishment of the UAE. That was in 2013. So one of the ideas that came up, and basically that His Highness really liked, was sending a probe to Mars. So we did like a very quick feasibility study. I was leading that task force, and we came up with a recommendation as like, if you want, we can do it. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be very risky, as long as we understand the risks associated with it. But we will have to do things differently. If we're going to do it in 6 years versus like 10 to 12 years, which usually takes other nations, then we need to take a new approach to things. And basically that was our feedback to His Highness. And less than a month after that, he met with us. And basically he gave us his requirements and direction. Like his directions were very clear to us. He said, obviously, the first requirement is to reach Mars before the 2nd of December, 2021. Why? Because he said, I want to send a very strong message to the Emirati youth and to the Arab youth. To the Emirati youth in the sense that he wanted to create that sense of urgency amongst them and inspire them to go into science and technology. Since the establishment of the UAE invested a lot in preparing engineers. But the scientists had very limited career path. And if you want to create, and this is what basically he said, if you want to create a competitive, creative, and innovative knowledge-based economy, then we need to have a well-established and advanced science and technology sector. And he wanted to use space as a tool to create that disruptive change, as a tool, or more of like as a catalyst for that change. Because we don't have time. We're a very young nation. Other nations are way ahead of us. We don't have 50 years and 60 years to catch up. So he said, your job is not basically to just put a spacecraft around Mars. No, your job is to lead that disruptive change I want to see in multiple sectors. In the academic sector, in the industrial sector, working with SMEs, working with like basically all the economic sector in general. So he wanted to see us engaged and leading that. And the third requirement was basically you have to build it, not buy it. You can work with others. You can go through knowledge transfer program the same way you did in your previous programs. Don't start from scratch. But we need to have significant Emirati contribution in this. And that's why we partnered up with our international partners, or our knowledge transfer partners at the University of Colorado, Arizona State University, and the University of California, Berkeley. So as His Highness mentioned, more than 450 people worked on this mission. 200 Emiratis, 150 from our knowledge transfer partners, and 100 subcontractors from around the world. And as you know, 50% of the missions that have been sent to Mars failed. So Mars is difficult, Mars is risky. So we came up with a new kind of a way of designing the spacecraft. So we had more than 100 peer review meetings in which we got subject matter experts from outside to come and take a look at our designs and give us feedback. They told us this is not traditional. But again, we listened to them in certain things, but certain things we had to take the risk. If you want to be competitive, if you want to be ahead of the game, then you need to take risks. And the other thing His Highness told us, you don't have an open budget. You have a very limited budget. So we had to deliver the system for less than $200 million, which is relatively speaking quite low cost. And basically he said, I want this program to be a catalyst for establishment of, or the start of the establishment of an advanced science and technology sector in the UAE. Because of the Emirates Mars Mission, the UAE Space Agency was formed, a federal entity, because the Mohammed Space Center is a local entity. It's a Dubai government entity. Because of the Emirates Mars Mission, a council for scientists in the UAE was established for the first time. Because of the Emirates Mars Mission, an academy for scientists, the Mohammed Academy for Scientists was established. The Emirates Mars Mission was the first science diplomacy effort done by the UAE. Because there's a novel science behind it. So we are serving humanity to be better integrated into the global system. And let's be very honest, sometimes scientists are able to achieve what politicians cannot. So science diplomacy is critical. At the peak of the Cold War, when the USSR and the US was at the highest tension between their politicians, the scientists are the ones who sat together and came up with the treaties that basically maintained the global security and prevented the weaponization of space. So it's something important to have. So it's not just even serving our own, let's say, local interests, but there's certain things related to our foreign policy that plays a role in this. And one thing he said basically, I mean, the UAE has national challenges, significant ones. Let's be honest, we have water, food, resources, challenges. And he wanted us basically to prepare scientists so that one day that ecosystem or that we have is able to address these challenges. Why? Because most of our technologies are imported. And we're not saying we don't want to import technologies. Yes, we do. But then we want to be able to customize technologies to our needs. And again, to serve our economy and the interest of our nation. So this is the story of how the Emirates Mars Mission started. It was not an easy journey, I have to say. It was quite painful. I thought the technical challenges will be the biggest headache I'll get, but then creating an impact and stepping on the foot of others, let's say, by entering sectors that are not, let's say, our sectors and trying to create a disruptive change there was a challenge. It was not easy.
Give us a sense of what you found or what the mission has found even as it orbits Mars, which, as you said, 50% of the Mars missions have failed in the past. This is one of the first ones that have succeeded, but they've also started streaming in some of the most fundamentally fabulous new ideas about Mars and proving some of the theories, but also disproving a lot of it that was out there before. So give us a sense of what those are and what the mission found.
So again, one of the requirements to have is novel science. So that's why we for the first time, basically the scientists around the world are able to get a holistic view of the Martian atmosphere at different times of the day, at different seasons. Before, the missions that been sent to study the Martian atmosphere were focused only on a specific season and a specific time. One of the directions that we received from His Highness since day one was very clear, that the data will be shared with everyone, with no restrictions. So every 3 months, we're releasing new sets of data for the scientists around the world to use it to come up with new research work and papers, and hopefully very significant discovery about the Mars.
Omran, this is in many ways a new trend, collaboration across countries and sharing vital data even as it comes out. How important is this for the future of not just our people, but the future of us being able to understand outer space, deep space, the possibility that living organisms, not necessarily how we recognize them, but perhaps how they are represented outside, can in some way be discovered?
So, if it was not for international collaboration, we wouldn't have been able to deliver the mission within 6 years. If it was not for international collaboration, we wouldn't have been able to deliver the mission within the budget. We did not go over the budget. So these are just like few examples of how important the collaborations are. I had a team a team of Emiratis that was based in Colorado, going through knowledge transfer partners, working with our knowledge transfer partners. I had a team that was based in the UAE, and then I had a third team that was traveling between UAE and the US. So since the team was going there a lot, and I had a team that was based there, so I just went and rented the facility to test it. And obviously there's some testing that took place in the UAE, we had to do that. But these were like kind of the fundamental basic testing that we were able to do it. But that's how I was able to save cost. Usually when it comes to such missions, countries tend to have, or there's the tendency of wanting to do everything from A to Z, which is understandable. But again, space is expensive, space is difficult, space is risky. So it depends how you want to do it and what are the priorities. For us, the priority was a disruptive change in the UAE. And basically, space is a tool for that. Space is not the ultimate goal. So that's why for us, we had to compromise and look at things differently. And again, this is a new model of doing things that we would like to share with the rest of the world. India is doing very well, an amazing space program India has. Japan has an amazing space program. Same thing with South Korea, it's growing and becoming quite advanced. And if we're talking about a civilian program, which is the ultimate goal is to serve humanity, then collaboration is a must. And it's the only logical way to do things. My personal view on things, I really don't believe in silos. I really think it's critical to have, people need to specialize. You need to have subject matter experts, but that doesn't mean they have to be totally secluded from other areas of interest. Overlap is always good. Overlap is good for communication. Overlap is good for development. Overlap is good for efficiency sometimes and effectiveness. You cannot have science kind of programs or academic specializations fully separated from like the non-science or the social ones. There needs to be overlap. And again, one thing His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed made to me very clear since day one. He said, I want this mission to create leaders that we can put in different sectors. Again, the overlap. Why? Because you want that mentality, that creativity, the risk-taking mentality to be not just placed in space or science technology, but no, in other sectors. And that emphasizes, I guess, the vision that UAE has of making sure that there is that overlap and the integration of people from different backgrounds into different sectors to lead the change that we'd like to see and the development, the sustainable development that UAE needs to be able to be competitive globally. So whatever work we do, I really think it will have a significant impact on the work of the scientists, on the future work that the scientists will be doing, definitely. The fact that there is novel science that the Emirates Mars Mission is providing, novel data, will definitely help in understanding what happened to a planet that scientists believe more than 4 billion years ago might have been similar to Earth, was a live planet and died. So understanding what actually happened to that planet, what caused it to turn into a toxic dead planet, losing its atmosphere, will definitely help us understand what's happening around us in the universe and to our own planet also. So whatever work that the Emirates Mars Mission team is doing, I believe will have a significant impact in the future work of the space science community.
Omran Sharaf, thank you so much. It's been an honor speaking to you. Thank you.
A PhD at the age of 27 and original work that you have been doing. What an inspiration for somebody who comes from a very small town in Kerala to find your way across multiple geographies and now arrive in UAE University. Tell us a little bit about how you've reached here at such a young age.
So I'm from a village area in Kerala, Neelampur. So actually what fascinated me from childhood was the stars. So even from my primary school to high school and to college, my only aim I had was to study stars. I didn't know how I got that interest. So because even my parents were very, so they were actually worried about me because I was always on terrace, So I was in fifth standard. And I was on terrace and all my parents and even my family were, watching TV or something. I don't have any interest on that. And I was on terrace watching stars and then I wondered about, but my worry was always, how do I reach there, So what I need to study to get in there.
Tell us, tell our audience a little bit about the zirconium star
yes,
that you,
of course.
and the fame that it brought you.
I got the chance to do PhD in Queen's University. There is an observatory near to the university, Armagh Observatory. I was working there. And so my main study was on a particular stars in our galaxy. These stars are actually very hot stars compared to the sun. So the sun is having surface temperature 6,000 degrees Celsius, but these stars have temperature above 30,000 degrees Celsius. So these are like about 6 times hotter than the sun. But these stars are very tiny stars. So like only 1/10 the size of the sun. But their mass is half the mass of the sun. So these stars we classify as hot subdwarf B stars. So when I look at one star spectrum, it looks different, totally different from other stars. And it's completely different kind of spectral lines. We look at some unique lines in the spectrum. So and I was not able to find with any elements to match any element. And finally, then we realized that so these lines are actually not found in any other stars before. So and there is no atomic data exist. So we have to calculate the atomic data and we have to find out which element is that. So fortunately, we were able to do that. We were able to find, do some calculation and found these elements are these lines that actually found is due to the zirconium. But the zirconium is not a new element. But it's a heavy element. We have that on Earth and we have found it on sun. But the uniqueness about this star, this particular transition, this particular characteristic of this atom has only been found in that star. And the excess that we have found is like 10,000 times more excess than the sun. So that's the only star has been found that so far. So that we named as zirconium stars. But then we continue doing this because we need to find if any other similar stars exist, of course. So we use other data. We use very large telescope data and Subaru telescope data. So we found more such stars. Now this star belongs to the zirconium stars in our galaxy.
Be inspired. Festival of Ideas. An innovation can change the world. All we need is passion, focus, and a desire to help. If you have an innovation, please send it to us at whatever stage it is in. Our panel of experts will assess it and help propel it towards reality. The sky is your limit. Don't wait. Mail us your idea or innovative thought at beinspired@teamworkarts.com.